see Father Ashmore's coat of arms. Is it shareable?
Oh no. That actually is my coat of arms.
Oh, do they?
That's hilarious. Unofficial.
And his is
I
not
mean,
Episcopal like mine. I'm gonna be
this
a
is
Trump
true.
bull. No, I'm not. Oh, it's a clover? Could it be a green hill?
It's called a hillock.
Green clover?
It's called.
Oh. Oh, his is the same, right? He has the same number of tassels. I think you distinguish a priest from a bishop, maybe an archbishop, but certainly a cardinal. They get more tassels underneath the Saturno, whatever we call it. It's a clover. So it has some hidden meaning. I think that the hedgehog or the porcupine or whatever that thing is. Hillock. Very mysterious. Not a clover. It's not a clover. Oh yeah, when he was ordained, he had his first mass here, and we had a party. He had a party, and we helped with his party, but we had a cake, and we put his coat of arms on it. Thought it was pretty cool.
They're very good to me. Let's Mary.
But we talk about ordinations are coming up. Mm-hmm. Talk about good news and excitement. Luke Doyle is a parishioner. You know the Doyle family, probably. They're parishioners here. Well, Luke has been in seminary, and he's going to be ordained a deacon. Not this Saturday, but next Saturday. They are going ahead with those. They're not going to be public, though. So I think it's mainly just Archbishop and the guys to be ordained, their families, so I don't even get to go. But newly ordained Luke will be deacon.
This McDonald's coffee is really good.
We'll be
Are we having troubles?
I don't know if that's quite the right word, but performing as serving as a deacon at the altar for his kind of a first mass here at Most Pure Heart of Mary on that Sunday, whatever it is, May 17th. And I believe it'll be the 11:30 mass. Now it's not going to be a public everybody come because we're going to get to that. We're very limited on capacity, so we're going to see how many spots he has. We got to space people out. We're going to have a sign up. We're going to get to that. Don't get ahead of yourself, Father Greg. But I'm sure we'll try to live stream it. So he's going to be ordained a deacon, and along with them, somebody else. I think Thomas Maddock. I forget.
Somebody else.
You can look it up.
It should be Thomas and Keith Chadwick.
Not this Saturday, next Saturday. Following Saturday will be the priesthood ordination, so we'll have some new priests for the diocese. formation, of course, our own Will Sutherland. He's got a few more years before he is
He's a child, Will Sutherland.
Also, we have our intern.
He's probably third year college now.
He'd be 2 years away, or only I think 1 year from being a deacon. And,
What's all the sound coming from?
Oh, and then also in formation for the permanent diaconate, although he's got like 4 more years to go. Dr. Tom Doyle.
Oh, the Tom Doyle connection? I didn't realize that.
In studies to become a permanent deacon. How cool would that be? You have a deacon dad and a priest.
Runs in the family, I suppose, eh?
Deacon. Dad, Dr. Deacon. He's a cardiologist.
Reverend Mr. Doctor.
Hearts, but a deacon of souls. Ooh. Father Ashmore. Okay. Oh yeah, Keith Chadwick. Oh, how could I forget? And Thomas Maddock and Luke Doyle. 3 guys for diaconate, and then I think 2 guys for priesthood the week after. Brain freeze. Somebody can tell you that in the comments. Brain freeze. Not enough coffee. So it's Nick Father Ashmore. He says Reverend Mr. Dr. Doyle. Reverend Mr. That's true. For deacons, that is your official title. Reverend Mr. Priests are Reverend, or maybe Reverend Father. But a deacon is a Reverend Mr. It's just the way it is. Well, I don't know.
We always used to joke that acolytes were most misters.
Confusing. Because bishops are like most reverend. There's very reverends, most reverends. I don't know. Somebody can explain all that in the comments. I'm in the chat. I'm in their stream.
That sounds.
Yeah. I went out of the stream, please. You're learning all kinds of things that I'm loving. Yeah, so if you want the good times rolling, switch to them, because I'm going to get into the nitty-gritty of reopening, but that's probably what everybody wants to know about. We don't have a lot of questions yet today.
We had the same problem yesterday.
Questions are bad anyways. No questions. No, questions are always good. They're sometimes hard.
I like how we have matching cups for that.
Since I have, Pluggable. I got Pluggable. Did you know there was a half marathon in Topeka? And it was supposed to be, I think, 2 weeks ago. Of course, it did not happen physically. They made it virtual, so you could just run around your block alone and then turn in your time. But it was supposed to be really cool and run all over the sites of Topeka. And I got my swag. Where's my swag? They delivered it like right to my door. How cool is that? I got a T-shirt, but it was in my laundry hamper, and you did not want me to drag that out because I wore it for like 3 days straight, and it needed to be washed. So here was the medal, and it was called the Top City Half Marathon. It was supposed to be April 25th, and it's got a nice little medal. And here is the race bib. But if you kind of see, it was supposed to start pretty close to the Capitol, run by the fairgrounds, the Shunga, around Washburn into Westboro, and go into what is it called? Up to Hummer Sports Park, Potwin, Topeka Bridge, Minoto. It would have been really cool to run the whole city like that, but so that I got my swag. from them. So next year, I think it'll be an exciting thing to run. There's also that Topeka Auburn half marathon that happens usually in January, and I never run in January. I always had a conflict. But I did run it one August when it got switched up, and I thought that was really cool too. It is 10 o'clock, so that bells are going to ring for a little while.
That means we're leaving.
Mm-hmm.
Tell them we're leaving.
Time to get on the real show.
Oh my goodness. I did bring a picture, it's a little bit old though, of my mama, my dad and my mom. I think this was their 50th. Oh, a shout out to my mom and dad. Their anniversary is tomorrow, I think. And they were married a long time ago. I think it's like 57 years. I better look that up. I'm in trouble now. When did my mom and dad get married? Their anniversary is tomorrow. They were married in 1964. So 56 years ago. Very happily married. They never argue, do they? They do a little bitty, never big stuff, but you know, they're always little stuff. Oh, sad. Oh, yeah. So a story about me and my mom, I don't know. My mom is very kind.
Hello, everyone. We are hoping we hope you are enjoying the little pre-show by Father Greg, our friend. Father Greg is hosting his own show called Being with God, and it's about as good as the name. So I hope you guys.
Oh, terrible. All right, so.
Done.
All right, well, welcome everybody. Glad to have you here for the Fireside Chat. Welcome, and Being with God. If you're just joining us, coming from the Being with God show, there, Father Greg is still in our fireplace, and
exactly.
So if you are missing him, and you're just like, man, that show was really good. I wish they'd go back to that one.
If you're wondering if there's like a poetic justice with him sitting in the fireplace, yes, there is. We'll let you finish up, connect all those dots.
So, that's Most Pure Heart of Mary Catholic Church. You can just search that in the Facebook bar, and you should be able to find him. You could split screen or something and go back and forth because that's high entertainment there.
Absolutely.
For the morning. So, so welcome. How you doing? Let us know what's going on. We are your community in the distance here for Fireside Chat. And we're happy to be here again with you this morning. So, we did not have a whole lot of questions yesterday, so if you got any questions, let us know. We were watching both here and the YouTube on the tubes. So actually, I'll be honest, I'm not quite on the tubes yet. So let me get on the tubes.
That's a good point. Let's get over there.
So hope you're all doing well. How you doing this morning, there, Father Ashton?
I'm doing well. It's a beautiful day out. I'm thinking about going on a run later today.
Good.
You and I were talking about the fact that we're looking at some website research, and I told you about this, but I haven't told many other people about this yesterday. That yesterday, as I was doing some research for the websites, we are trying to redo all the website in the parish. Everything's going to be brand new. It's going to be impressive, we hope. It's going to be very useful for all of us. And as part of that, the staff asked me to go and just look at every option possible. Every option. So they pointed me in one particular option. It was the website that it's a website company that Church of the Resurrection uses and several of the other mega churches. And we were like, hey, maybe they could bring something to a smaller church community. This could be a neat little project for them because they're used to working with bigger parishes. Maybe the bigger churches. Maybe this would be a way to give them something out of the ordinary to work with. And so I'm trying my best. I send them an email. They set up a phone call with me. They get back with me within an hour. I'm talking to them on the phone. And I'm trying to sell our little parish. I'm saying, hey, we've always been a really forward-looking parish. We've always been open to embracing new ministry styles. So I think we're a really exciting community. We are not a big community. We're not one of really outstanding means or anything like that, but I think we've got it where it really counts. So I'm trying to sell them, thinking that maybe I'd get them to be interested in our little parish to do maybe even a pro bono project or something like that. And then they gave me their quote, which was $50,000. Mind you, our other websites were about $50 a month.
So
and currently we're not paying anything for our website.
So we are not going to be using that company
No.
for $50,000. So
No.
rest assured. But he was talking about that yesterday, and I was like, "Thanks for doing that call."
Yeah.
I do like to know my options.
Well, it was a really interesting conversation. So I'm going to take some things from the conversation. So it wasn't useless, but the moment actually he said it's $50,000, but we might, for a parish like you, we might be able to work it down to 25,000-30,000. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's right.
I interrupted you.
Well, that brings up an interesting thing that we were just talking a little bit this morning. Is I do like to know my options. I do like to do I do like to do my research, and I'm sometimes indecisive, and then sometimes I am decisive, and I just jump into things. It's kind of an interesting piece of my character that I like to reason. I like to know my options. So it's like, was that worth the call for me? Yes, it was worth the call, even though it was kind of worthless because it wasn't. We're not going to go with that option, but at least now we know that doesn't work. So
there's an interesting book out there that Father Greg Hummus and I talked about at one point.
That Father Greg?
That Father Greg, yeah, exactly.
Of Being with God fame?
Exactly.
Infamy?
Infamy is much better, you're right. I believe it's like Living Life by Algorithms or something like that.
Uh-huh.
And
okay.
I don't remember the name of the book, but Father Greg really liked it. And he was talking about decision-making theory according to algorithms. And he said you should always... when you're looking at your potential options, you will generally always choose your third choice. Like you can... I believe that's how it goes. And he could explain it better than I can because he was telling me about it. But often we think that more choices is always better. Because we think, okay, we'll research the 9th one. But statistically, it's most highly probable that the third choice, the third thing you look at is going to be the one that you choose. Even if you go through 9, the third one.
Huh.
It's interesting. I don't know why. And, but it's something along the lines of just statistically, when you go and add more and more options, those are going to be ones that are less and less fitting for you. Or they're going to be ones that you are not inclined to for whatever reason. So if you're facing a life decision and you have like 3 equal choices, the third one is generally the best. Like the third one is the one that algorithmically is going to be chosen.
That is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
When I did my parish leadership thing that they did several years ago, they were talking about how you like problem solving. So this might be a little bit of a different thing, but they said I think that you're supposed to write out 12 options. So you've got a problem that you need to address. Write out 12 things, and 12 seems like a lot because you think you've got the answer right away. I don't know. We have too many masses for too few people, for instance. So what do we do? And then like the first options might be, we come up with this, but then you keep looking at things, and sometimes in that like 9th or 10th option, it's like, oh, we would have never considered that unless we had been forced to come up with 12 options. And then that sometimes is the best option. So again, that might be in a little bit of a different avenue with problem solving, but you have an issue. Well, okay, in your group, come up with 12 solutions to that problem and then figure out which one's the best for you. It was an interesting exercise, and I found that it works quite frequently. I haven't done it for a while, but it was a good problem solving technique. That was really good. It was called Good Leaders, Good Shepherds.
Oh yeah, I went through that program.
You did? Oh, yeah. I thought it was great. And so I was hoping that they were going to do it more often. I guess it was kind of expensive. But there was just one cohort. We were supposed to be the first, but we were the only. So I'm glad that I signed up for it. It was a 2-year program.
Oh, wow. Okay. We only did a week-long program at my seminary for it.
Well, it might have been the same material, too. But when you're working with priests, you had like 5 weekends or something, and then some interim 1-day sessions over the course of 5 years. 2 years.
2 years.
5, something like that. So, yeah. So
decision-making theory is very interesting. Sorry, you're about to say something. I thought you were...
No.
Oh, okay. it's. We were talking, Father Greg and I were talking at one point last year.
Wait, that Father Greg?
That Father Greg. Father Greg and I were talking at one point last year about another algorithm that they had in there. They use the term algorithm very loosely here, so pardon that language. I'm not particularly in love with it. I'm glad I'm not in love with the language, but...
do you Eros language?
It was talking about the fact that often we live within one context, and we're working within one context, and we forget that our foundation could be switched to something else completely. So we have different options on the table, and we think, okay, we've got these 3 options, but those are all set on the foundation of one other theory, and sometimes you just need to destroy the foundation to find your best option. So the idea is like you're saying, we've got too many masses for too few people. What you're going to be thinking about is the fact that there are too few people, therefore we need to address the number of masses. But maybe the whole question needs to be like how you do mass in general. Maybe that you just have to get out of the context whatsoever and be like, we've set up a false problem for ourselves.
Right.
The problem is not too many masses for too few people. The problem is that I don't know. I don't know what the problem would be. The solution is, but we are working from one context of a problem when we actually need to be solving a completely different problem, and that will solve that other problem. Right. But too often we get caught up in that aspect. I'm going to lighten the color a little bit.
Okay.
Just
great. So I put Father Greg up in the corner now.
There we go.
You just continue to watch him.
Picture in picture here at Fireside Chat. Can they do that over at Being With God?
Of course not, because they are amateurs. We're amateurs also, but we like ribbon Father Greg. Again, he's a good friend of mine. And he did the Good Leaders, Good Shepherds too.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Yeah. So,
Golgus.
Good Leaders, Good Shepherds. Very good. So it's a lot of Father Greg today, and he's on top of my head.
I think that's an interesting thought stream, though. In a certain way, how often do we get caught up in our ways of thinking that are not healthy?
Yep.
That are not helpful? Yep. And we just need to break out of that spectrum. I don't know. Have you experienced that ever?
Sure. We had to reduce actually the masses at Our Lady of Unity. We had 6 masses, and we had 4 in English and 2 in Spanish. What I'd been doing for years, so I was there for 9 years, and what I was doing for years is I liked having a balance, right? So there was trying to keep everybody happy. That's what I try to do, and then I don't do it always very well. You can't make everybody happy, so it's a losing endeavor.
So I try to make no one happy. That's my. If you can't do it all, do nothing. That's what I say. No, that's not true. That's not good advice.
But anyways, we had 2. So we had 2 churches. And so with 6 masses, there were 4 in English and 2 in Spanish. Everyone had a morning mass and an evening mass option. So there was it was 4 o'clock at Sacred Heart in English, 5:30 at St. John in English on Saturday, and then 8 o'clock at St. John in Spanish, 9:30 at Sacred Heart in English, 11 o'clock at St. John in English, and 4 o'clock in Spanish at St. John. And the idea was, okay, everyone's got their 2 masses because Sacred Heart and St. John were kind of different communities. They liked having their church, they liked having their community. So I was trying, everything is good. But the 5:30 mass was really not very well attended there, and so we combined the Saturday evening mass into a 4:30 mass instead of a 4 and a 5:30. We did a 4:30 mass. Which was not particularly well received, especially by the St. John community, because it was at Sacred Heart, and so there was frustration. Yeah. I did that right before I left. I should have done a long time ago. We had been talking about it years earlier, but here's what I noticed. is I never got to know really the Sacred Heart 4 o'clock community because I was always rushing off to the 5:30 Mass. And so the chili suppers, everything that was going on, I could never, I sometimes came back after the 5:30 Mass, but by that time, because as you know, like things always happen right after Mass, right? Donut Sunday or whatever, okay, the main activity is right after Mass. Imagine coming back an hour and a half later to the Donut Sunday, and there's some people still there, but you miss out on all the action. So I was like, what was I? I wish I would have done that a long time ago because I felt like I was a better pastor then, actually by doing fewer masses. That seems counterintuitive, right? Because you would think, and I would think also, is, well, offer more sacraments, offer more opportunities, make it as easy as possible for people to come to Mass, massive convenience and all those things. But that actually kind of backfired, and I learned a good lesson. I should have done that a long time ago because I could have been a better pastor because so much of our work happens outside of Mass, right? The connections, communications that we have. And I missed all of that for 9 years because I was working on making sure everyone had their Mass.
Right. I think that's a really good lesson. I think that's really fascinating. And what you say there is, I was a better pastor because I removed a Mass, which is totally contrary to what a lot of people think. A lot of people think that if we make ourselves more accessible, quote unquote, if we make ourselves more available in sacramentally, we have more Masses, we have more confession times, so and now all those things are good in their rightful spot, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we are being successful at what we need to be successful at.
Right.
Often those things have really negative side effects that we have to keep watching out for. So if we make sure that everybody has a Mass that's convenient to them, then what are we making the Mass into? Are we making it the highlight of our week that you should structure your week around, or are we making it just something that I put in my day?
Right.
And now we need to make it so everybody can get to Mass. Absolutely. But if we put so many Masses that you can just do it whenever, then it becomes something not special.
Right.
And then you're getting more of a consumerist Catholicism.
Right.
And so that's an example of that.
Sure. Right. And that's certainly the case in Good Shepherd. Now, there was a unique situation there because it was two churches, and even though it was called Our Lady of Unity, it wasn't necessarily always unified. And Sacred Heart and St. John are two different churches, and I would always say this too when I was there, is St. John is clearly the more beautiful church because it was built as a church. Sacred Heart, it was built as a gym, and they did the best that they could with their gym, and it looks, but it wasn't built as a church in the first place, and so St. John was a beautiful little church, but Sacred Heart is bigger, and because it's built as a gym, so it could hold more people, so it wouldn't necessarily work the other way around. So. But that's another complication, is you're not only doing the convenience thing, but you're taking the location and the beauty away, which is hard.
That is hard. Certainly hard.
Which they have been connected to for all these years. That's where my children were baptized, or that's where I got married, whatever. So,
right, and sometimes that's just a painful transition to make.
It is, right. But then also just the replication of services also then. Because we would always have trouble, fulfilling all, not just the priests, but, music and Eucharistic ministers and lectors and all those things was always we were overextended. So,
I think that's just a good lesson for us in life, that often the thing that's most apparent, we'll just do this, is often not the best answer.
Right.
Because when you do that, it has these other side effects that you don't think about. And that's just a lesson for life in general. I know... especially today with the emphasis on evangelization that the modern church is trying to do, which is a good thing. Again, it's not a bad thing. I'm not trying to say that in the least, but it's a good thing.
Sure.
But if we try to take some means of evangelizing and that are coming from a more business standpoint, like let's try to evangelize like the big businesses advertise, often that's not successful. That produces a really small-time, short-term fruit, but doesn't make long-term disciples.
Right.
And why is that? Well, because you're trying to sell Jesus. And you think, well, hey, when I watch TV and I see an ad or I see these other things, like that's very attractive. Why don't we use those same means as a church? And those have a part in it. But if we treat Jesus like part of our business and not as the Lord of our life, then we're going to not have long-term disciples.
Right.
And so there's all these things to consider. It's, the easiest answer, which is let's use an advertising company and let's throw money at this problem, is often not the effective answer.
Right.
Often the effective answer is fasting and and praying and just becoming a better disciple yourself, which is a lot harder because it demands transformation.
Right. Right.
We kind of dove in quickly today. Sorry about that. They're just interesting thoughts as we go along.
Well, I thought, good. So let me know if you have any questions. I thought maybe we could also just dive into, I just now noticed as I was looking up that if you go to the Archdiocesan website, it is posted now, those things. So I think it's public knowledge now of what we are doing with the, I should have checked that earlier, but I just thought about that. It was just posted yesterday. So if you want to go to archkck.org and you want to know how the new directives look, they've been very good about, posting things, and I just haven't looked there for a while because it's been locked down for a month. So, but those new directives are up about resuming public masses, and I really like the fact that they that you can see right there on the pandemic advisory board that they have. Oops, I forgot to zoom it to the middle. The pandemic advisory board is made up of doctors who are professionals in the field, and I think the names are listed there in the back. So if you want to know who was part of coming up with this, again, so were we talking about this yesterday?
I think we spoke briefly, but I don't think we talked about details.
I think the basic premise was, or maybe it was 2 days ago, the basic premise, I think, is how Archbishop had the conversation of, I really want people to be able to receive communion in a safe manner. How can we make this happen? And he consulted with these doctors. I imagine that's how the conversation went. I don't have confirmation, but that's what it feels like, is that Archbishop really, wants to care for the people and wants to make the Eucharist available in a safe manner. So what would be the things that would be necessary for that to happen? And so there's a whole guidelines, and it's a public document now, so you can read it. I was, again, hesitant to post what we had before because I didn't know if that was the final copy, if they want that all distributed and disseminated throughout but it's on the website now. So archkck.org if you want to know the new directives. Most important, I suppose, to know is we are not starting, we are planning to start, and this is all tentative, depending on how our meeting goes with the Johnson County priests today at 1. We are planning to start on Monday with daily mass at 8:30. So that's the plan. Because the Johnson County stay-at-home orders extend through Sunday until the end of Sunday, Sunday options are not an option for us this weekend, but they will be next weekend, and we'll have some more communication on how exactly we are rolling that out shortly. Hopefully by the end of the day. So, and Mary Losick should be sending out an email about that. We've got a good plan. We had a good staff meeting, and I think we got a good plan in place, and we'll be revealing that.
Exactly.
Soon.
So we have talked about it as a diocese. We've talked about it as a staff, and now we're going to talk about it as a region. And once we have discussed it as a region, Father Kent and I and the other staff will solidify our plans and communicate that to you. So what we can say is that we are starting to have some element of public masses, and we will discuss with you further how that will look.
But so if you want to come to mass on a daily mass, at least at what we're planning, this will be open to all of our parishioners. They do discourage also parish hopping, so which I guess makes sense. I know that people do like to go to different churches, but we're trying to contain things, and so we're trying not to go all over the place. So I think they're really trying to control. So we're trying to do good about containing that too. So things that you'll need to know if you want to come to daily mass, and we were mentioning this in the mass earlier, is come with a face mask because you will be required to wear one at mass. Not our rules. I know that people have different opinions on whether we should wear masks or not, but it doesn't really matter what your opinions are on this matter. If you're going to be at mass, you got to wear a face mask. That's just the policy that we will have. So you'll also have to have your hands sanitized as you walk in, and you'll need to sign in. the reason of the signing in is just in case, again, heaven forbid, if there's an outbreak, they'll be able to track who is at a particular place at a particular time, and they can figure that out.
Right.
So, and know what further, maybe quarantines or warnings people might need to receive that, hey, this person was sick, and we see it, this person was at this mass, just so you know, or how, I don't know how that works, but heaven forbid that happens, but... and we'll maintain the 6 feet distance, so you can read it all in the document. I don't need to go through all those things.
Right.
But the one thing you need to know is you need to bring a face mask. The other thing is we're not opening up the church as normal. So no activities are happening except for the sacraments.
There will be no youth ministry in which we meet together, as far as we know. There will be no other meetings going on at the parish. No. The only thing we're doing are public masses at this point, and even those are very restricted.
Right.
And that is to keep us safe. I think that's the thing we need to just keep in mind. We're not doing this in a draconian way. We're doing this in order to keep people safe. So as long as we keep this in mind, I hope everybody can be patient with us.
Right.
We don't know all the answers. We don't know how to do this very well. We're just trying our best.
Because this is what?
This is my first pandemic.
Very good.
I think that's the first time I've said it. I've always let you say it, haven't I?
It's always my tagline. But I'm glad that you got to use it as well. So.
But actually, there is one thing that I'm going to require, personally.
People bring cookies?
No, I haven't discussed this with you yet.
Okay.
Your face mask has to be liturgically correct.
Oh.
So you have to have a green face mask to come to the ordinary time mass. If we are having mass on, if it's if Great Feast Day, it can be white or gold.
Okay.
I will allow silver too, but I won't appreciate it. But I will allow silver too. And if it's Advent, and we're still wearing masks in Advent,
gosh,
gotta have a violet one.
Heaven forbid.
So, and Mass of the Dead, you can wear violet, white, or even black. I'll even accept that. So, that's a joke. I'm not.
And for me, I want everyone to come in with different forms of reptiles on there, so different mouths. Yeah.
Reptiles.
Have you seen that? There's one that looks like it's like maybe it's like the predator face or something. It's really creepy, but it's like this mouth coming out at you. So,
wow, that is.
Some very stylish masks out there, but no.
When you don the mask for mass, you have to say a little prayer. Oh Lord, set a guard over my lips. You can say it in either English, Spanish, Greek, or Latin.
Okay.
Is it three? And Hebrew you can do too. I'll let you.
All these vesting prayers for masks. And the priest will be wearing masks for distribution of communion as well.
Right.
So we will not wear it for the most of the mass, but we will wear it when we are.
It would be hard to talk through a mask into a microphone. It doesn't work that well. I think that's the reason why they've stopped that.
So, yeah. Let me go to the camera because we haven't talked about our coffee yet. Notice we have matching mugs today. Very good, Father Ashmore. Don't get confused which one's which, but let me go over to the camera. And look, in this shot, you have a nice picture of Father Greg here, right there. Today's coffee of the day is, again, we got this from, Katie and was it?
Oh shoot! Price.
The Prices.
That was the Prices.
This is from the Prices from the Appreciation Parade. So the Mick Cafe. It's quite delicious, really. So it's a premium roast of the Mick Cafe. So that is what we are drinking today. And hello to my nieces. I hope you're doing better. I hope you're on the mend. I know that you were sick the last couple days, so I hope that everything is getting better for you and that you are not sick anymore. That makes me very sad to think of you as sick and not happy there. So hello Rachel, hello Rosalie, and hello Laura. So hope you're doing better. And hello Driving Girls. And I hope that you're not sick, but I hope that you're having a good day. All right. We will go back to the main cam.
So red masks, yes, on Pentecost we will require red masks. You're right about that. And matching mugs seems too cutesy for Father Ashmore. It's true, but I actually did pick out both mugs this morning, so I guess I'm betraying my own personal identity. I don't know. I got it to him because it's a larger mug.
These are nice sizes. These are good for these are particularly good. Well, I usually take my coffee upstairs in the morning, and I do my morning prayer and everything upstairs, and drink my coffee up there. And these hold more, so they travel better if I'm not going to be next to the coffee pot for a little bit. They're also good hot chocolate mugs because you can get more stuff in there, and the mix usually is better and it doesn't go all over the place. I believe I got these from Ellen Tuttle over at Curie of Ours back. I think it was a Advent Angel gift thing.
I feel like they would have matching plates. Don't they look like ones that would come with like matching plates?
I concur. I do not think that plates were ever a part of this set. If they were, they have been long lost.
right. No. I'm just curious.
No, I agree. They look like they could have matching plates. But yes, I've had these mugs for years.
You should get a shirt this color. Those stripes. A clerical shirt?
You heard it here first. Father Ashmore is encouraging me to get a multicolored striped clerical shirt. So,
I've seen crazier things.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that you're all healthy over there, Drylings. Glad to hear. You can't wear one of your Star Wars masks? No, that'd be good. I'd accept that. Yeah. We could get some really strange masks when we're looking at the congregation.
Yeah, I know. The trick is, who can make the Father laugh? I'm sure.
You tempt them, Father.
I know.
I just got a video from my nieces. They seem to be smiling, so that is a good sign. And they seem to be doing Play-Doh. I can't watch the video right now, but it looks like they look very happy in that video, so that's a good sign. So.
At least we're already wearing matching shirts.
That's right.
I've already done that. I don't need to.
So red masks on Pentecost. Yep, that would be really cool. So,
think if there's anything else. I wonder, with Mother's Day coming up, do you have something you want to share with us? Hi to my beloved mother, who I see is watching. Sure, in one moment. I got to think of something to share about my mother. My mother is an incredible baker. She's really quite good, and we've got a lot of cookies over there right now.
We do. They'll be gone by this afternoon, probably.
I hope not. No, if they're gone, you need to pray for. You need to pray for us.
Mostly me, probably.
I don't know.
I have a weakness for cookies.
But my mother bakes wonderful cookies. She's actually opening up a cookie shop in Lawrence right now. It was supposed to be opened up before the quarantine, but the quarantine hit, and so they delayed things, and it's allowed her to work on things. So she and my little brother are opening up a coffee and cookie shop in Lawrence. It's called Sid and Nancy's. And if you want a little taste of my mother's cookies, you're going to have to go to Sid and Nancy's.
Sid and Nancy's, eh?
It should be delicious. I'm looking forward to seeing what she does with it. And she's very excited. So,
Very good. Well, hello to my mom. My mom is usually watching, so happy almost Mother's Day. Yeah.
I know his mother, too. Very well. Well,
she's because she's the most part of Mary parishioner.
She's one of my favorites there.
Oh, very good. Well, she's one of my favorites there too. My sister and brother-in-law and the ones that I often address here, they're also over at Mosby Heart. So, oh, look at that, daughter Carly. So yes, I see you both there. Let's see here. You were going to say something, I think. I was going to say one more thing about the Mass, though, as well.
Oh,
what should I say about the time?
Go ahead.
The time? How Archbishop's comment
about...
Oh,
yeah. Go ahead.
One of the instructions that you might see in the Mass is... He said it was funny the way the Archbishop said this. It says this might be the favorite part of parishioners, and especially like when I'm celebrating the Mass or whatever. It says Mass needs to be limited to 45 minutes.
It's true.
So for some, that is the best news of the pandemic they could possibly receive. Again, I don't think there's a need to rush to the Mass, but there's also not a need to lengthen the Mass But I know that people love them short Masses sometimes. So, but
anyway. It's interesting.
So we're looking at ways to make things shorter.
The thing that I found most humorous about that conversation was he was talking about how priests are going to have to really shorten our homilies. And generally, I don't think it's the homilies that make our Masses long. It's like we have more music at Oak Ridge, and it's beautiful. We have a lot of really beautiful music. So I'm not criticizing that. But I was thinking, Bishop, because he's talking about maybe even giving a really nice short homily and giving a more extended homily that we can post online. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, I don't think there's going to be much I'm going to need to add to an extended homily. I don't know.
Although I know that I've preached a little bit longer, it seems like, in pandemic time. I don't know why I felt the need, I don't know why I've done that exactly. But if you notice, my homilies seem a little bit longer there. I've noticed that as well. So, but that will end. So we will be giving short homilies from now on.
I have a strict upper limit to 900 words. So I write out all my homilies beforehand. Not my daily homilies, but my Sunday homilies are all written out beforehand. And I have a strict limit of 900 words, and that will equal to about 7 to 8 to 9 minutes, right around there. So I might have to cut it down to a strict limit of 700 words or something like that to give myself a little bit more room to play around.
And you don't exactly write it out word for word, though.
I mean, I do write it out word for word, but then when I present it, I present it according to how I remember it.
I see. Okay.
But I like having all the logic written out, and then I get like the little rhetorical flourishes worked out there.
Yep. And I used to be the same way as well. My guideline was I typed out when I was first ordained for the first 4 years, pretty much every Sunday at Curie of Ars, I wrote out my homily word for word, read it from the ambo there, word for word, and my rule was it was Palatino font, 14, 2 double-spaced 0.5 margins on the page. And then then I said it can be, I think it was 2.5 pages was my max, sometimes 3, I guess. I think that's what it was. Maybe it's 3.5. Maybe 3.5, and that got me to about.
You weren't a Comic Sans person?
I like Comic Sans, actually. I think it's a bad rap, that Comic Sans, but I kind of like Comic Sans.
It gets a bad rap because it deserves a bad rap.
I see. Who knew we'd be talking about fonts?
We go where the wind blows.
I've always liked the Palatino font.
It's a nice font.
It's legible, and it's a good size. And
I'm a big fan of Garamond. I read everything.
Garamond is good. Yeah.
It's always Garamond 12-point font for me. I'm very opinionated about fonts. Go ahead.
Music Ministry, not happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry there, Debbie.
Yeah.
The music here at Good Shepherd is gorgeous. It is beautiful.
We will still have music.
We will still have music.
We just can't do it to the way that we would like to be doing it at this point.
Yep.
We might need to be cutting down things, using a shorter Gloria, things like that. So.
Yeah, I guess the other option could be that we would. There could be an option where we'd have a live streamed mass that had no attendance. That would be lots of music, right. I suppose.
The problem is, I was talking to somebody the other night who has to follow these things closely because of her particular position, and she was telling me that singers project their spittle upwards of 13 feet. 13 feet. We should have a competition. That is a lot of spittle. And so that's one of the problems. There was some choir who tried to maintain the 6-foot quarantine, social distancing, but one person was ill in it, and 75% of the choir became ill.
Oh, wow.
And they were 6 feet apart, so they thought they were safe.
Oh.
But because singing is such a projectile sport, one might say. Because singing is just like that. It was just spread all the way throughout, all around them, and 75% of the choir got ill. So we have to be really careful with how we do the music.
Yep.
Because it could be really dangerous. And it comes to that whole situation that you are non-symptomatic for 2 weeks. I mean, you can be non-symptomatic on average about 2 weeks, so it can be longer or shorter. But if you're singing for 2 weeks, that's a lot of infected spittle.
Yes, indeed. Infected spittle. That can be in our title. I keep on forgetting to do our titles for our shows.
I think the title for this one should be "Singing is a Projectile Sport."
Singing is a projectile sport. Yes. Very good. My sister says she loves Garamendi also. My other sister, Kristen, says that.
Mm-hmm. It's the best. It really is.
Or she says Garamendi. I don't know if that's a different one.
Oh, that might be a different one. I'm not sure.
Or maybe it could be an autocorrect thing.
I don't know.
And yes, Avett Brothers. Yes, that was from a couple days ago. We were talking about, and I don't know why I forgot about the Avett Brothers.
I love the Avett Brothers.
Yeah, they're great.
But this will make some people happy too. I know some people, and it makes me very sad. I might have to just a little bit of tear here. I won't be able to sing the preface. I think I'm gonna have to start cutting out the preface.
Oh yeah.
We're still gonna say it because it's required, but
it does go quicker if you don't sing it. That's
exactly.
True.
So we're gonna do everything we can to make it so we fit within the 45-minute limit, because that's the limit that the doctors say is safe time to have that level of social distancing. So, I mean, I'm sorry.
Yes, you've always sung the preface.
I always sing the preface.
Yeah, and I always sing the. Just training in different times. I mean, he was instructed, I believe, that if you sing there's a kind of a priority of order of what you're supposed to sing, and people are surprised that like opening songs are like way down the list of priority, and we think, oh no, you always sing an opening song. You sing an antiphon or something, but you don't. And you don't sing that if you don't sing the preface, you shouldn't sing anything. I think is the kind of the order of things.
Yeah, exactly. So actually, we can do some interesting history here. We have some time.
We have a little bit of time.
So, I will try to be quick about this because this is really actually fascinating. And Debbie, I understand it is tough, but we do have to follow the rules. So I appreciate your putting up with the rules.
Let me mention that quickly about the no congregational singing. Yes, it is weird. Especially why can't you just congregational sing if everyone's got a mask on? I guess people get. That might be a little tricky for one.
Breathing. We don't want people falling over.
But with the spittle idea, but yes, could you sing? But I was telling Raffaele, our music director, it's a bizarre world we live in, because I've never in my priesthood would I think that I would encourage people not to come to Mass on Sunday. I never thought I would be doing that. Don't come. Don't you dare come.
Right.
Never did I say please don't come. I never thought I'd be doing that. Now I've never thought I would be say please don't sing. Because that's totally contrary. I'm always like, we need everyone to sing. The music is so much more beautiful when everyone sings, and the church is filled with voices. That was one of the things, at least when I first went to seminary, how powerful and amazing that was to have we had a relatively small chapel and all the seminarians are singing. It is pretty powerful with a bunch of men singing.
Because you don't hear that very frequently. A men's choir like that.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it can be pretty powerful. And so I always love it when our parishes can do that as well. And Good Shepherd has a good history of doing that. However, what I was telling Raffaele is let's look at the optimist. I'm the optimist, and let's look at the positive. Let's see what we can do with this. And I said, what are some songs in our repertoire that we don't sing that are really quite lovely, but one of the reasons we don't choose them is because the people don't know it. Well, now is a great chance for us to maybe introduce some new songs that can be congregational singing later that are really lovely songs, but we've never done it before because the people don't know it. Well, it doesn't matter. If the cantor can know it, then we can sing it, and then people will start learning it, and then when we come back to congregational singing, we can sing these other beautiful songs. So I'm encouraging our music ministry to dig a little bit deeper and to do some unfamiliar stuff, so that it can become familiar. So let's look at the positives here and get some new build our repertoire a little bit. I mean, sometimes that's people complain about that. Not necessarily a Good Shepherd, but it's I think a constant complaint is we sing the same stuff all the time. Well,
and then you do something new and people don't like the new
right,
song.
Because people say
you can't make everyone happy.
I know. Why don't we sing the stuff we know? Well, now's a chance to sing stuff we don't know because we don't want people to sing. But let's see what we can come up with. And some beautiful instrumental stuff, too, that we can do. So
exactly.
So let's use...
Because I don't think, as far as I'm aware, like, violin is a projectile sport.
Right.
I don't think so.
That could be like a cool, like, superhero or villain, right? That the violinist or whatever, and you, like, shoot your bow at people or whatever.
Seems dangerous.
You're just, like, violining. Bam! It's like a crossbow.
You've been watching way too much Hunger
Avengers or that's right. Or like spy movies or whatever. Yeah.
Exactly. Right. Oh, so the history behind what we're talking about. So, to understand exactly how music works in the Mass, you have to go back about 1,500 years and know that what ended up happening over time was the church developed two types of Masses. One was called the High Mass, and one was called the Low Mass. And the Low Mass, nothing was spoken at. Nobody spoke anything. Pardon me, nothing was sung at. Everything was spoken. And the High Mass, everything essentially was sung. And that's how it was for about 1,200 years, a long time. And so if a lot of people know what the liturgy looked like before the Second Vatican Council, most people remember a really quiet Mass. That's because what most priests said was a Low Mass, because it took a lot of work to do a High Mass. Mm-hmm. Because you'd have to learn all the music, you'd have to chant everything. You couldn't do anything really in between. You could do a little bit of flexibility, like you could fancy up a Low Mass, but you couldn't truly do a Low Mass you couldn't truly do a High Mass without everything being sung.
Okay.
So one of the things the Second Vatican Council...
It's like an opera. It's either an opera or it's not, because if you speak anything, it's no longer an opera, it's an operetta.
Yeah, exactly. That's an interesting way to put it, in a certain way. So what the Second Vatican Council tried to do was it tried to take away this distinction between a High Mass and Low Mass so that you could do different levels of the Mass for different solemnities. Different parishes could have more music and that sort of thing. And so they took away that distinction between a High Mass and a Low Mass. And they said you can sing at any Mass. But if you're going to sing, Paul VI put out a document and said, here's the things you're going to sing. The priest is going to sing the preface, then he's going to sing the dialogues, I think, then he's going to sing this, then he's going to sing this, and then the people are going to sing the hymns. So he said, if you're going to sing the hymns, you got to do all these other things.
Right.
But if you're only going to sing some of it, you've got to start with the priest. Da, da, da. And everybody ignored that document.
It's true.
And everybody ignored that document. It was called Musica Sacra. I think it was put out in the late 60s. Nobody followed it. But part of trying to really do the Second Vatican Council well, part of trying to bring what it really desired for the liturgy is the priest singing. Because they were trying to make it so that the priest could sing. And so some people will look at it and think like, oh, well, Father Ashmer's, he's singing all the time. He's trying to bring us back, or I'm trying to do what the Second Vatican Council asked for.
Right. No, that's a great point.
Because they took away the distinction so that we could sing at any Mass. Mm-hmm.
Right. So yes, so just because a priest is chanting, it's actually we're trying to do what the Second Vatican Council was instructing us to do. Mm-hmm. And I'm much more sloppy about that myself. Because again, that's just not what people are as much used to. But I think it's good for us both to kind of push more what was the vision for the Second Vatican Council, and some things as we go along, some things got kind of corrupted and not done the way that was really the vision. And so with any organization or anything, you kind of have to come back to, okay, what was a vision in the first place? And let's try to do that better. And that's what we want to always be improving is, what was a vision, and are we doing it right, and are we doing it well? And if we're not doing it right or doing it well, what can we change? So that the idea is, if we want to sing these beautiful hymns, these beautiful songs that we have at Good Shepherd, really what we're supposed to do is all of these other things. Otherwise, we're not supposed to be doing songs at all. So I want to do songs. So let's then, if we're going to do that, okay, let's sing all this other stuff. That's actually the proper way to do it. And I try to do that as much as possible.
And there's flexibility. If a priest can't sing, there's flexibility with all these things. So it's not necessarily like, past 40 years have been full of liturgical abuse. Because we're not I'm not attacking anybody.
Right.
It's what it is, though. It's that attempt. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's an attempt to try to do more purely what the Second Vatican Council was wanting.
Mm-hmm. And even, I think I can say this without getting called into the Archbishop's office, even the Archbishop sings the prefaces. And it was very funny at the conversation, because when we were doing the whole new missal and we had a training with all the priests, Michael Podoberic, if you don't know him, he's a funny guy.
He's hilarious.
He is hilarious. Mm-hmm. And he was doing part of the training and training us how to sing, and he was saying, even if you can't sing, you can just sing like one tone. The Lord be with you, and with your spirit. lift up your heart, we lift up the Lord. And said, just work on one tone. And he said, Archbishop, if you need to, see, even Archbishop can do that. He can work on that for like 6 months, and he might be able to do that. It's very funny.
And if you go to Mass with the Archbishop to this day, that's all he does.
He does.
The Lord be with you.
Because Archbishop will be the first to admit he does not have a singing voice and does not have an ear for that kind of thing. So.
He tells a story about when he was in seminary, he had a choir director or music director who said that they can teach, that person can teach anybody to sing.
Uh-huh.
And when he graduated, I think after a year or something, that teacher went to him and said, "You have proved my theory wrong. You are the one person I could not teach."
So it's a kind of a running joke with the Archbishop, but so even someone who can't sing and admittedly cannot sing, who admits himself he cannot sing, will do the prefaces. So we do the prefaces, and that's and so what I am doing now is I'm doing in those heightened seasons, right? So Advent, Christmas, Lent, and Easter, and then I'm kind of taking a break there for ordinary time, even though it's not proper. Father Ashmore generally is not. But I think that's kind of a good balance then, because if those people that maybe don't like that or whatever, every other week or so, then they don't have that or whatever. But I very much respect what Father Ashmore is doing, and I think that's really good, and that's really proper liturgical Second Vatican Council vision. So but again, I try to make everyone happy, and I fail miserably all the time. But that's kind of my approach. So.
Mm-hmm. Understandable.
Yeah.
So I guess that leads us back to the question of what Debbie said here. No congregational singing, no choir, one choir in a hotspot, not buying some of this, but I know you have to follow the rules. And she goes, the online masses now are much more nice than the new masses will be. We will try to make it so that's not true.
Right.
We don't know how we're going to do that, but we will try to make that so it's not true. Because,
again, I think we've pulled off the online masses pretty well. I mean, we especially if you go back like 2 months from our first time that we just kind of threw a camera and we couldn't get it. We had to have it way back at the soundboard, and we couldn't do any zooming or anything. It was so far away.
Yeah.
Look back at where we were and where we've come. We've come a long way. And so who would have thought that our online masses could be so lovely? And Raffaele's been working really hard with the musicians and making sure the soundboard is right. And so our first few things, the sound was kind of flat, and he's really spent a lot of time on that soundboard trying to milk that for all it's worth and make it sound good online. And to be clear, we are continuing to live stream, so we are not taking that away. No. So,
and as far as we are aware, the Sunday masses won't be a free for all when it comes to people coming or anything like that. It will still be a very restricted crowd, and we'll talk more about that, especially later today and tomorrow.
Right. Mm-hmm. So we're gonna try to make it as beautiful as possible. So just be patient with us, and we're gonna try to get the most bang for our buck in 45 minutes, and try to make it as beautiful as possible. We'll try to come up with short but powerful homilies. Who was it that said, if you need me to write a 20-minute homily or sermon, it'll take me 3 hours. If you need me to write a 1-minute sermon, it'll take me 10 hours or something like that. It's like it takes much longer to write a short, powerful sermon than it does to write a rambling one. So we'll try to make the most of it. And I think we can think creatively. I think we can make it beautiful. I think that we can still have the musicians and everything, the instrumentalists, that can do something very lovely. I mean, some things can't be shortened from what they already are. Preparation of the gifts, right? It's already as short as we can make it. We bring over the gifts. We have to arrange the altar, bring the book up. So there's time there for some music there. There will be people receiving communion at these masses. So there is time for communion songs. Mm-hmm. So some of that stuff is not going to be taken away. But some of it will be. And again, we want to allow people to receive Holy Communion. And so this is what we need to do.
Mm-hmm. So. Exactly.
Yeah.
We're all in this together.
Yeah. And so, we're planning to continue all live stream masses. we're gonna be doing that for months, I think, and maybe for eternity. Who knows? Not eternity, but maybe for a really long
I
time.
hope not eternity. If I'm still having to do a live stream mass up in heaven, I'm gonna be ticked.
This is not what I signed up for. This is not heaven. You might find out you're in the wrong place. But and even talking about maybe installing like actual cameras in the church so that we don't have to keep hauling this and set it up. It's funny, you don't generally get to see the behind the scenes, and we're going to clean up the church a little bit because the church is a little bit messy because we just keep throwing stuff off camera. And there's some stuff still sitting off camera that when actually we have people in the church, we'll have to tidy up a little bit. So when will churches, I see that Debbie responded, we're planning on churches beginning daily masses on Monday. Again, tentatively scheduled, depending on how our meeting goes with the Johnson County priests goes together. Could you zoom on the overhead projector with the choir or something? I don't know what that means, Jen.
She's probably thinking like zooming in the choir.
Oh, I see.
I doubt that that's possible with the music. It's very difficult to get good sound out of that system, but we will have every option on the table.
Yeah, and again, the obligation to attend mass, that is not coming for a long time either. So
right.
So if you don't feel safe, don't come to mass. Again, I never thought I'd be saying this as a priest. Well, I guess I would say that all the time, but
yeah. And on a side note, although the bishop has not officially, as far as I've seen in a document, the Easter obligation to receive Holy Communion.
Oh,
that's not officially been lifted, but I think have a total tranquil conscience about that. There's no, if you don't receive Holy Communion all of Easter, I don't think there is no issue at this point because you're not obligated to do what's impossible, and if it's impossible for you to go to the mass, it's impossible for you to fulfill that obligation.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, we'll see about the chat. We are planning on continuing the chats for the foreseeable future. And again, everything else is closed. The office is still closed. No meetings, no nothing. So when that reopens, is probably when we'll have to revisit the chats because then we'll have to be doing other things.
We'll have to start working.
Yes. Yeah. So again, people
Cynthia,
are.
I encourage you.
Hello from Must Be Your Heart. Welcome. You've come from being with God. We are so glad to have you here.
Thank you so much. Cynthia, I encourage you to watch earlier in the Fireside Chat. We go over some of those things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it will be less than 45 minutes. So which again, I get it's great. Some people love those quick masses. But some people, like to linger and sing full hymns too. So I can't make everybody happy. I can't.
I always remind people that if we lived in Africa, the mass would be 3 hours long.
Right.
They love their long masses down there. So and all the families go. They have a grand old time. So
and some of them feel like you have cheated them actually if you do something less. I mean, if you do like only a 7-minute homily, they feel like
you're just warming up, Father.
Or how dare you give us such? Why didn't you give us more? So it's unthinkable. But
yes, and Debbie, we are still doing the what are we calling that?
Oh yes, thank you, very good.
Yes,
Debbie.
I can't remember the name for that. Can you remind me the name?
Building Connections in Christ.
That's what it is. Yeah.
So we do need more callers, and thanks for the reminder, Debbie. I was meaning to mention this all week long. So we still need more callers. Debbie just posted the information there in the Facebook feed. So we're trying to reach everyone there for the in our parish, especially the elderly as our kind of in our first thing. So please, we need more help. Please consider. If you got some time to make some calls, and it says, looks like cold weather is coming, so we need more people to make calls. I see over there on the tube, Lori, don't want you to shorten your homilies. Well, thanks, I appreciate that. The Archbishop did encourage us to do like an online homily separate from the Mass that could possibly be posted as well. But so it could be a win-win. Those who want the shorter homilies get it, and those who want the longer homilies
and we're not wanting to shorten quality. Hopefully they'll be short and powerful.
That's the idea. Mm-hmm. Yeah. instead of just something like Jesus loves you, which is true, but there it is.
It's only so.
You will never make everyone happy. I know, but it's in my nature.
That's why I try not to make anybody happy.
So we live according to our nature sometimes. All right, so well, thanks so much for tuning in. We've gone a whole hour today.
Have we? Oh my goodness!
Yeah, it's
wow.
11 o'clock. So thanks
Holy
for tuning
cow!
in.
Sorry about that, guys.
No, it's good. There's people are still here, so and these were good questions that came in at the last minute. So
thank you all so much.
Yep. We again, we're planning on being back here on Monday, and be a little bit patient with us. I can't see us starting late, but we do have to transfer equipment now to the church.
And we're going to try and figure out how all that will work.
So we plan to be here at 10 o'clock on Monday. If we are running a little bit late, I apologize. Tuesday we should be fine because there's not a Tuesday morning mass, and Thursday we should be fine. There's not a Thursday morning mass, but just be patient with us as we're transferring some equipment. And there might be people that actually want to talk to us after mass, but that's the other thing that they're kind of encouraging is like get in, get out, don't
no
linger.
lingering.
So, that's right. So, but they might talk to us outside or something. So, all right. So have a great day, and we will see you on Monday.
Thank you all very much. God bless you.